Captain Daeho Kim stood on the bridge of his cargo ship, the Rising Phoenix. The ship was old and not very pretty, but it worked well. Kim had been flying cargo runs between human colonies for 10 years now. Most aliens in the galaxy thought humans were only good for dangerous jobs that other species would not do. The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines. Lieutenant Boram Lee sat at her communication station, listening to the normal chatter between ships and space stations. Chief Engineer Hyunwoo Park was below deck, checking the cargo bay doors. They were carrying medical supplies to the outer colonies today. Kim looked out at the stars through the main window. Space was beautiful, but it could also be very dangerous. Pirates roamed the trade routes looking for easy targets. The Galactic Coalition was supposed to protect merchant ships, but their response time was always too slow. "Captain," Lee called out suddenly. "I'm getting a distress signal." Kim turned around quickly. "What kind of signal?" Lee pressed buttons on her control panel, her face growing serious. "It's from the Celestial Harmony. That's the big cruise ship that carries passengers from different worlds." Kim knew about the Celestial Harmony. It was one of the most expensive ships in the galaxy. Rich aliens from 12 different species paid huge amounts of money to travel on it. The ship had luxury rooms, fancy restaurants, and entertainment areas that most humans could never afford. "What's their problem?" Kim asked. Lee listened to her headphones and typed on her keyboard. "Pirates, sir. The Vactor swarm attacked them. The cruise ship is asking for immediate help." Kim felt his stomach drop. The Vactor were not ordinary pirates. They were a group of different alien species who worked together to attack and rob ships. They were known for being very cruel. When they took over a ship, they often killed everyone on board just for fun. "How many passengers?" Kim asked. 50,000, sir, Lee answered. "Families, children, elderly aliens. The ship's weapons are very weak. They won't last long against the Vactor." Kim walked over to the navigation station. The Celestial Harmony was only 6 hours away at maximum speed. But his cargo ship had almost no weapons. They had 2 small laser guns that were meant to scare away small pirates, not fight a whole fleet. "Sir," Park's voice came through the communication system from the engine room. "I heard the distress call. We can't fight the Vactor. Our ship isn't built for battle." Kim knew Park was right. The Rising Phoenix was a cargo hauler, not a warship. If they went to help, they would probably die along with the cruise ship passengers. But Kim also knew something else about humans that most aliens did not understand. Humans never left other people to die when they could help. "Lee, send a message to Coalition Station Kepler 7, Kim ordered. "Tell Ambassador Sujin Choi about the attack. Ask where the nearest Coalition fleet is." Lee worked at her station for several minutes. Finally, she looked up with bad news. "The closest Coalition ships are 3 days away, sir. The Celestial Harmony will be destroyed long before they arrive." Kim closed his eyes and thought. 3 days was too long. The Vactor would kill everyone and disappear into deep space. The Coalition would write a report about the tragedy, but that would not bring back 50,000 lives. "Captain," Lee said quietly. "Ambassador Choi is on the communication line." Kim pressed the button to talk. "Ambassador, this is Captain Kim. What are our options?" Ambassador Sujin Choi's voice came through clearly. She was stationed on Kepler 7, one of the largest space stations in this part of the galaxy. "Captain, I've spoken with Coalition Command. They say any rescue attempt by a single cargo ship would be suicide. They recommend that you stay away from the area." "And let 50,000 people die?" Kim asked. There was silence for a moment. Then Choi spoke again. "The Coalition commanders don't think humans understand space combat. They said, and I quote, 'Sending primitives to fight pirates would only add to the death count.'" Kim felt anger rise in his chest. Primitives. That was what many aliens called humans. They thought Earth people were too young and too stupid to be trusted with important tasks. Humans had only been in space for about 200 years, while some alien species had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. But those aliens had never lived on Earth. They had never survived on a world where storms could destroy entire cities, where earthquakes could split the ground open, where wild animals could tear a person apart. Humans had learned to be tough because their homeworld had tried to kill them every single day. "Lee, set course for the Celestial Harmony," Kim ordered. "Sir?" Lee looked surprised. "You heard me. Maximum speed." Park's voice came through the speaker again. "Captain, with respect, we'll be flying straight into a death trap." Kim smiled for the first time since hearing the distress call. "Park, get down to the storage room and find the special communication equipment. The black box that I told you to never touch. The one you said was for emergencies only? Park asked. This is an emergency, Kim replied. Lee, once you've set our course, send a message on the old Earth frequency. Tell them we have a code red situation. Lee looked confused. Captain, what's the old Earth frequency? I've never heard of it. Kim walked over to his command chair and sat down. He looked out at the stars again, but this time his expression was different. It was the look of someone who knew something that others did not. It's a frequency that most of the galaxy doesn't know exists, Kim explained. For 50 years, the aliens have thought humans are just simple cargo haulers and miners. They think we're too primitive to be dangerous. He pressed several buttons on his chair's control panel. Hidden screens appeared, showing star maps that were not in any official coalition database. They're about to learn something important about humans, Kim continued. We've been in this galaxy for 50 years, but we've never stopped being the species that survived Earth, and humans never abandoned their own. The rising phoenix turned toward the distress signal and increased speed. Behind them, in the darkness of space, other ships began to move. Ships that the galaxy had never seen before. Ships that had been waiting in the shadows for exactly this kind of moment. Kim pressed one more button. All hands, prepare for combat operations. Lee and Park looked at each other in surprise. Their cargo ship did not have combat operations. At least that was what they had always thought. Deep in the asteroid belt near the edge of the solar system, Admiral Tae-Young-yoon received Captain Kim's emergency message. The Admiral stood in the command center of a massive space station that was hidden inside an asteroid called Cerberus 9. From the outside, it looked like just another rock floating in space. Inside, it was one of the most advanced military bases in the galaxy. Admiral, said Colonel Min-ho Kang, walking up with a datapad in his hands. We just got the code red signal from the rising phoenix. 50,000 civilians under attack by the Vector swarm. Admiral Yoon nodded slowly. She was a tall woman with gray hair and serious eyes. She had been preparing for this day for 20 years. How long until Captain Kim reaches the cruise ship? 5 hours, sir, Kang replied. But his cargo ship won't be able to do much against a Vector fleet. No, the Admiral agreed. But Kim knows that. He's buying us time and giving us a reason to act. Admiral Yoon walked over to a large window that looked out into space. But this was not empty space. Floating in the darkness were 12 enormous ships that made the largest coalition vessels look small. These were not cargo haulers or exploration ships. These were battleships built for one purpose: war. Dr. Jin Ah-sung, the Admiral called out. A young woman with short black hair walked over quickly. She was holding a computer tablet with information about alien species. Yes, Admiral? Tell me about Vector biology. What are their weak points? Dr. Song touched her tablet screen several times. The Vector are reptile-like aliens from high-gravity worlds. They have thick skin that can stop most energy weapons. Their ships use plasma cannons and void torpedoes. But they have two major weaknesses. Go on, the Admiral said. First, they can't handle certain sound frequencies. It disrupts their nervous system and makes them confused. Second, they rely on group tactics. If you can break their formation, they become much less effective. Admiral Yoon smiled. And humans are very good at making loud noises. She walked over to the main command console and pressed several buttons. Lights began flashing all over the command center. A voice spoke through the speakers. All personnel to battle stations. This is not a drill. Throughout the hidden base, thousands of humans began moving quickly to their positions. These were not ordinary merchant sailors or asteroid miners. These were trained military personnel who had been secretly preparing for war, while the rest of the galaxy thought humans were harmless. Captain Yoon-ji Woo received the order while standing on the bridge of her ship, the Earthbreaker. Her battleship was the largest in the human fleet, over 2 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could destroy a moon. She had been waiting in the asteroid field for 3 years, running practice missions and keeping her ship ready for combat. All hands. This is the captain, Wu announced over the ship's communication system. We have a rescue mission. 50,000 civilians are under attack by pirates. We are going to save them. On the bridge, Lieutenant Commander Yuri Han was checking the weapon systems. Captain, all guns are ready. Kinetic cannons are loaded. Plasma shields are charging. Good, Captain Wu replied. Set course for the Celestial Harmony. Maximum speed. The Earthbreaker began to move, followed by 3 other battleships. They would arrive at the battle in 4 hours. just before the Vactor fleet could destroy the cruise ship. Meanwhile, aboard the Celestial Harmony, panic was spreading through the passenger decks. The luxury cruise ship had been designed for comfort, not combat. Its shields were weak, and its few weapons were meant only to scare away small pirates. Captain Zindar, the ship's Altarian commander, stood on his bridge watching the approaching Vactor fleet. There were over 200 pirate ships ranging from small fighters to massive dreadnoughts. His ship would be destroyed in minutes once the attack began. "Sir," said his communication officer, "we're getting a response to our distress call. A human cargo ship called the Rising Phoenix is coming to help us." Captain Zindar's 4 eyes blinked in surprise. "A human cargo ship? Against the Vactor swarm?" "Yes, sir. They say they'll be here in 4 hours." Captain Zindar felt a mix of hope and sadness. It was good to know that someone was trying to help, but a single human cargo ship would not be able to do anything against 200 Vactor warships. The humans would die along with everyone else. He walked over to the passenger information system. He needed to tell the 50,000 people on his ship what was happening. Most of them were families on vacation, expecting to see beautiful nebulas and visit peaceful space stations. Instead, they were about to become victims of the most dangerous pirates in the galaxy. "Attention passengers," Captain Zindar announced. "This is your captain speaking. Our ship is currently under threat from hostile forces. We have contacted the Galactic Coalition for help, but their ships are too far away. A human rescue ship is coming to assist us, but I must be honest, our situation is very dangerous." Throughout the cruise ship, aliens from 12 different species began to panic. Parents held their children close. Elderly passengers sat down heavily in their chairs. The ship's crew tried to maintain order, but everyone knew the truth. The Vactor swarm did not take prisoners. Back on Cerberus 9, Admiral Yoon was talking to President Sang-Hoon Ryu of the Terran Republic via secure communication. The president was on Earth in the capital city of Neo-Sol. "Mr. President," the admiral said, "we're about to reveal our military capabilities to the galaxy. Are you sure you want to proceed?" President Ryu's face appeared on the main screen. He was an older man with kind eyes, but his expression was serious. "Admiral, 50,000 innocent people are about to die. We cannot let that happen just to keep our secrets. The aliens will know we've been hiding our true strength," the admiral warned. "They'll realize we could have defended ourselves all along." "Good," the president replied. "Maybe they'll finally understand that humans are not primitives to be pushed around. Save those people, Admiral. Show the galaxy what humans really are." The communication ended and Admiral Yoon turned to her staff. "You heard the president. Launch the fleet. All 12 battleships." Colonel Kang looked concerned. "Sir, sending our entire fleet might seem like overkill for a pirate attack." "Colonel," the admiral said quietly, "we're not just fighting pirates today. We're showing the galaxy that the age of treating humans like children is over. When word of this gets out, every alien government will know that Earth has teeth." She walked back to the window and looked at her battleships. Each one represented years of secret construction, using technology that the Coalition had never seen. While aliens thought humans were just hauling cargo and mining asteroids, Earth had been building the most advanced military force in known space. "Dr. Song," the admiral called, "send the Vactor research data to all ship commanders. I want them to know exactly how to hurt these pirates." "Yes, sir," Dr. Song replied, working quickly on her computer. Admiral Yoon pressed one final button on her control panel. Throughout the hidden base, a message played. "The time for hiding is over. Today, we show the galaxy who humans really are." In space, 12 massive battleships began moving toward the battle. The Vactor swarm had attacked the wrong species. They were about to learn why humans had survived on one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. The aliens had always thought humans were weak because they came from a death world. They were about to discover that surviving a death world had made humans very good at dealing with death. The Celestial Harmony was shaking from the impacts of Vactor plasma cannons. Captain Zindar held on to his command chair as another explosion rocked the luxury cruise ship. The shields were failing, and his few defensive weapons could barely scratch the pirate ships surrounding them. "Damage report," he called out to his bridge crew. "Shield strength down to 30%, replied his tactical officer. "Hull breaches on decks 12 and 15. We're losing atmosphere in the forward sections." Through the main view screen, Captain Zindar could see the Vaktor fleet. 200 ships had formed a circle around his cruise liner, firing continuously. The pirate commander, Groktar the Merciless, was probably enjoying the slow destruction of his ship. In the passenger areas, 50,000 aliens were hiding in their rooms or emergency shelters. The ship's entertainment areas, once filled with laughter and music, were now silent except for the sounds of weapons fire and hull damage. "Sir," the communication officer called out, "the human cargo ship Rising Phoenix is approaching our position." Captain Zindar looked at his tactical display. One small dot was moving toward them through the field of pirate ships. How can one cargo hauler help us against all this? Before anyone could answer, something impossible happened. Space itself seemed to bend and twist near the celestial harmony. A massive shape began to appear, as if it was stepping out from behind an invisible curtain. The shape grew larger and larger, until it completely blocked the view of the stars beyond. It was a ship, but unlike anything Captain Zindar had ever seen. The vessel was 3 times longer than his cruise liner and twice as wide. Its hull was dark gray, covered with weapons and armor that looked like it could survive flying through a sun. "What is that?" whispered the tactical officer. On the bridge of the massive warship, Captain Yunji Wu stood calmly at her command station. The Earthbreaker had dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly between the pirate fleet and the cruise ship. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations, running final checks on their weapon systems. "Lieutenant Commander Han," Captain Wu said, "open communication channels to both the Celestial Harmony and the Vaktor fleet." "Channels open, Captain," Han replied. Captain Wu pressed the communication button. Her voice was calm and confident as she spoke to the cruise ship first. "This is Captain Yunji Wu of the Human Defense Fleet battleship Earthbreaker. We have received your distress call and are here to assist. Please move your ship behind us and prepare to receive medical aid." On the Celestial Harmony, Captain Zindar and his crew stared at their communication screen in shock. Human Defense Fleet? They had never heard of such a thing. As far as the galaxy knew, humans only had cargo ships and mining vessels, but there was no time to wonder about it. The massive human warship was offering protection, and Captain Zindar was not going to refuse. "Thank you, human ship. We are moving to your position now." The luxury cruise liner slowly moved behind, the Earthbreaker, using the battleship as a shield between them and the pirates. Now Captain Wu opened a channel to the Vaktor fleet. This time her voice was completely different. It was cold and dangerous, like the sound of metal breaking. "This is Captain Wu to all Vaktor vessels. You have attacked innocent civilians under the protection of the Galactic Coalition. Leave this area immediately or face the consequences." The response came quickly from Groktar himself. The Vaktor commander appeared on the main screen, showing his reptilian face with its sharp teeth and red eyes. He was laughing. "A human thinks she can threaten the mighty Vaktor swarm?" Groktar hissed. "I have 200 ships, little human. You have 1. Do you think your cargo hauler can fight my dreadnoughts?" Captain Wu smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Mr. Groktar, I think you have made a mistake. This is not a cargo hauler." "Then what is it?" Groktar demanded. "This," Captain Wu replied, "is what humans build when someone threatens our people." She cut the communication and turned to her crew. "Han, are all weapons ready?" "Yes, Captain. Kinetic cannons loaded with neutron core penetrators. Plasma batteries at full power. Shield generators running at maximum efficiency." "Good. Target the lead Vaktor dreadnought." Lieutenant Commander Han worked at her station, locking the ship's weapons onto Groktar's flagship. The targeting computer showed that the enemy ship was heavily armored, and armed with enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Groktar had stopped laughing. He was staring at his own tactical display, which was showing him information about the human warship that made no sense. According to his sensors, the Earthbreaker had weapons that were more powerful than anything in the Coalition fleet. Its armor was thicker than a space station's hull. Its shields were strong enough to stop a direct hit from a planetary defense cannon. "Impossible," Groktar muttered. "Humans are primitives. They barely know how to fly in space." He decided to Show this arrogant human captain what real firepower looked like. All ships target that human vessel. Fire everything we have. 200 Vactor ships opened fire at once. Plasma bolts, energy beams, and explosive missiles streaked through space toward the Earthbreaker. It was enough firepower to destroy a small city. The weapons struck the human battleship's shields in a brilliant display of light and energy. For a moment, the Earthbreaker was completely hidden behind the explosions. When the light faded, the human ship was still there. Its shields flickered blue for a moment, then returned to normal. There was not a single scratch on its hull. Groktar's jaw dropped open. What kind of shields are those? On the Earthbreaker, Captain Wu had not even moved when the enemy weapons hit her ship. Shield status? She asked calmly. Shields down. To 97%, Captain, reported the shield operator. Minor power fluctuation in grid 7. No damage. I see, Captain Wu replied. Han, show them what a real weapon looks like. Fire 1 kinetic round. Lieutenant Commander Han pressed a single button on her control panel. Deep inside the Earthbreaker, a magnetic cannon charged up with energy that could power a small star. The cannon fired a solid metal projectile no larger than a human fist. But this projectile was moving at nearly the speed of light, and it had been forged from materials found in the core of dead neutron stars. When it hit Groktar's dreadnought, the enemy ship simply disappeared. There was no explosion, no debris. One moment, a massive pirate warship was floating in space. The next moment, there was nothing but empty vacuum where it had been. The remaining Vactor ships stopped firing. Their crews stared at the space where their flagship had been, trying to understand what they had just witnessed. Captain Wu opened the communication channel again. This is your final warning, leave now. The second-in-command of the Vactor fleet, a captain named Skelvor, appeared on the screen. His reptilian face was pale with fear. What kind of weapon was that? That was us being gentle, Captain Wu replied. Would you like to see what happens when we get serious? Behind the Earthbreaker, Captain Zindar and his crew watched the human warship with new eyes. They had thought humans were weak because they came from a dangerous planet. Now they realized the truth. Humans were dangerous because they came from a dangerous planet. Sir, the Celestial Harmony's sensor operator called out, I'm detecting more ships approaching, large ones. Captain Zindar looked at his tactical display and saw 11 more massive shapes moving toward the battle. They were the same size and design as the Earthbreaker. 11 more human battleships were coming to join the fight. Skelvor saw them too. His hands shook as he reached for his communication controls. All ships retreat, full speed, get us out of here. But Captain Wu's voice stopped him. I don't think so. You attacked innocent people. Now you get to learn why that was a bad idea. The human battleships spread out in formation, surrounding the Vactor fleet like hunters surrounding their prey. The pirates suddenly realized they were no longer the predators in this situation. They were the hunted. The 12 human battleships moved into formation around the Vactor fleet, like sharks circling wounded prey. Captain Yunji Wu watched her tactical display as her sister ships took their positions. The Storm's End, commanded by Captain Do-hyun Lee, moved to block the pirates' escape route. The Titan's Fist and 9 other massive warships spread out in a perfect circle. All ships reporting ready, Captain, Lieutenant Commander Yuri Han announced from her station. Captain Wu nodded. Open a channel to the fleet commanders. The faces of 11 other human captains appeared on her screen. These were experienced officers who had trained in secret for decades, preparing for the day when Earth would need to show its true strength. Captains, Wu said, we have 199 Vactor ships to deal with. They have terrorized this sector for too long. Today we end their threat permanently. Captain Lee of the Storm's End spoke up. What about prisoners, sir? Coalition law requires us to accept surrender. Any ship that surrenders will be taken prisoner, Wu replied. Any ship that continues to fight will be destroyed. Make sure they understand the choice. She switched to the general communication frequency that all the Vactor ships could hear. Attention Vactor fleet. This is Captain Wu of the Human Defense Fleet. You are surrounded and outgunned. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded, or we will destroy you. You have 30 seconds to decide. Skelvor, the new Vactor commander, looked around his bridge in panic. His tactical officer was showing him sensor readings that made no sense. According to their instruments, each human battleship had more firepower than his entire fleet combined. "Sir," his weapons officer said, "our plasma cannons barely scratched their shields." "How is that possible?" "I don't know," Skelvor hissed. "But we can't surrender to primitives. The other pirate clans would never respect us again." He made the worst decision of his life. "All ships, attack formation. If we concentrate our fire on one human ship at a time, we might be able to break through their defenses." The Vactor fleet began to move, trying to focus all their weapons on the Earthbreaker. But the human ships were ready for this tactic. Commander Jae-min-oh was sitting in the cockpit of his fighter inside the launch bay of the Storm's End. Around him, 50 other human pilots were doing final checks on their small but deadly aircraft. These fighters were not like the elegant ships used by other species. They were built for one purpose: to kill enemy vessels as quickly as possible. "All pilots, this is Commander O," he said over the communication system. "Launch in 30 seconds. Remember your training. These pirates have been hurting innocent people for years. Today we make them pay." The launch bay doors opened and 51 human fighters shot out into space. They moved faster than anything the Vactor had ever seen, dodging between the larger ships like insects made of metal and death. But these were not ordinary insects. Each fighter carried weapons that could punch holes through battleship armor. The human pilots had been enhanced with neural implants that let them think faster and react quicker than any normal person could. Commander O locked his weapons onto a Vactor heavy cruiser and fired 2 missiles. The enemy ship's point defense systems tried to shoot down the missiles, but they were moving too fast. Both weapons hit their target and the cruiser broke apart in a ball of fire. "Target down," O reported, moving to next enemy ship. All around the battle area, human fighters were tearing through the Vactor fleet like paper. The pirates had expected a traditional space battle with big ships firing at each other from long distance. Instead, they were facing a coordinated attack from multiple directions at once. Chief Gunner Haiwan, Kim stood at her weapon control station aboard the Titan's Fist. She had been waiting for this moment for 15 years. Her battleship's main guns were charged and ready to fire. "Captain," she called to her commander, "requesting permission to engage enemy dreadnoughts." "Permission granted," came the reply. "Show them what Earth engineering can do." Chief Kim pressed several buttons and the Titan's Fist's main cannon began to charge. This weapon was different from the kinetic gun that had destroyed Groktar's ship. This was a gravitational disruptor that could tear apart the basic structure of matter itself. She aimed at a cluster of 5 Vactor dreadnoughts that were trying to ram the Earthbreaker. Firing gravitational pulse, a beam of twisted spacetime shot out from the human battleship. When it hit the enemy ships, they simply came apart at the molecular level. Metal separated from metal. Electronics stopped working. The 5 massive warships fell to pieces like toys made of sand. Skelvor watched his fleet being destroyed around him and finally understood the truth. Humans were not primitives. They were apex predators who had been pretending to be harmless while they built weapons that could challenge gods. "All ships, retreat," he screamed into his communicator. "Full power to engines." "Get us out of here!" But Captain Do-Hyun Lee had been waiting for this moment. His ship, the Storm's End, was positioned directly in the path of the fleeing pirates. As the Vactor ships tried to escape, he activated his ship's most terrifying weapon. "Gravity well generator online," his tactical officer reported. "Ready to activate." "Do it," Captain Lee ordered. Space around the Storm's End began to bend and twist. The escaping Vactor ships suddenly found themselves being pulled backward, as if a black hole had appeared behind them. Their engines screamed at full power, but they could not break free from the artificial gravity field. "Impossible," Skelvor whispered. "They can control gravity itself." Captain Wu's voice came over the communication system again. "I told you to surrender. You chose to fight instead. Now you will face the consequences." She gave a signal to her fleet. All 12 human battleships fired their weapons at the same time. Kinetic rounds moving at light speed, plasma beams hot enough to melt asteroids, and gravity pulses that could crush planets struck the remaining Vactor ships. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes from start to finish. When it was over, the Vactor swarm no longer existed. Some ships had been completely destroyed. Others had been disabled and were drifting in space with their crews unconscious from the gravitational effects. Captain Wu opened a communication channel to the Celestial Harmony. "This is the Earthbreaker. The threat has been eliminated. Are you in need of medical assistance?" Captain Zindar's voice came back, filled with amazement and gratitude. "Human ship, our medical bay is overwhelmed with injured passengers. Can you help us?" "Already on the way," Captain Wu replied. "We're sending medical teams and supplies. Your people will be taken care of." Throughout the cruise ship, the 50,000 passengers were beginning to realize what had happened. The humans, whom they had always thought of as simple laborers and miners, had just destroyed the most dangerous pirate fleet in the galaxy without taking a single casualty. Dr. Velthak, a Centaurian professor of military history, stood in his luxury cabin looking out at the human battleships. He had spent his entire career studying warfare between different species. He had written books about the greatest battles in galactic history, but he had never seen anything like this. The humans had not just won a battle. They had demonstrated technology that was centuries ahead of anything the Coalition possessed. They had shown tactical abilities that suggested they understood war better than species that had been fighting for millennia. Most importantly, they had done it all to save people they did not even know. Dr. Velthak activated his personal communication device and began recording a message. This was going to change everything. The galaxy was about to learn that the species they had dismissed as primitives were actually the most advanced military power in known space, and they had been protecting everyone else without anyone realizing it. 3 days after the battle, Coalition Station Kepler-7 was busier than it had ever been. Ships from dozens of different species were arriving hourly, all carrying government officials who wanted to meet with the humans. Ambassador Sujin Choi sat in her office, looking at a list of meeting requests that was over 200 names long. Her assistant, a young human named Taiho Park, walked in with another stack of documents. "Ambassador, the Altarian Defense Minister just arrived. He says he needs to speak with you immediately about military cooperation agreements." Choi rubbed her temples. She had not slept in 3 days. "How many is that now?" 47 species have sent representatives," Park replied. "They all want the same thing: access to human military technology and protection agreements." Through her office window, Choi could see the Earthbreaker docked at the station's main port. Captain Yunji Wu had brought her battleship to Kepler-7 to deliver the rescued passengers from the Celestial Harmony. The massive human warship was surrounded by alien vessels, their crews taking pictures and trying to scan the human technology. "Tell the Altarian minister I'll see him in an hour," Choi said. "And Park, get me a communication line to Earth. I need to speak with President Ryu." A few minutes later, President Sang-Hoon Ryu's face appeared on Choi's screen. He was sitting in his office in Neo-Sol looking tired but pleased. "Mr. President," Choi said, "the entire galaxy is going crazy. Every species that ever called us primitives is now begging for military alliances. What do I tell them?" President Ryu smiled. "Tell them the truth. We're happy to discuss cooperation, but our defensive capabilities remain classified. We'll protect those who need protection, but we won't share our weapons technology. Sir, some of them are offering huge amounts of money and resources. The Cedian Republic wants to give us 3 star systems in exchange for just 1 battleship. The answer is still no," President Ryu said firmly. "Our weapons stay in human hands, but we'll gladly use them to keep the peace." While they were talking, Councillor Veltaran of the Altarian Republic was having the most embarrassing conversation of his long political career. He was standing in the docking bay of Kepler-7, looking up at the Earthbreaker, talking to Captain Wu. "Captain," he said, "I must apologize for my government's past treatment of humans. We had no idea you possessed such advanced military capabilities." Captain Wu looked down at the tall, blue-skinned alien politician. 2 months ago, this same councillor had voted against allowing humans to establish colonies in Altarian space. He had called humans barely civilized apes who were not ready for galactic society. "Councillor," Captain Wu said politely, "there is no need to apologize. You judged us based on the information you had available. But we were so wrong," Veltaran continued. "Our military analysts are saying that your battleships are more advanced than anything we've seen. How long have humans possessed this technology?" Captain Wu smiled slightly. "A while." She was not going to tell him that humans had been building their secret fleet for 50 years, or that every cargo ship and mining vessel in human space was actually a disguised warship. The galaxy would learn those secrets when Earth decided to share them, not before. Fleet Admiral Kixther of the Coalition Defense Force was having an even worse day. He was in his office on the Coalition's main military base, staring at reports from the battle that made his head hurt. His chief intelligence officer, a spider-like alien named Kliktar, was showing him sensor data from the fight with the Vector swarm. "Admiral," Kliktar said, "according to these readings, the human weapons are beyond anything in our database. Their kinetic cannons fire projectiles at 98% of light speed. Their shield generators can absorb energy equivalent to a solar flare. Their gravity manipulation technology is at least 300 years ahead of our best research." Admiral Kixther had commanded Coalition fleets for 30 years. He had fought in 12 major wars and had always believed that the Coalition possessed the most advanced military in the galaxy. Now he was learning that a species they had treated like children had weapons that made his dreadnoughts look like toys. "How many human warships are there?" he asked. "Unknown, sir," Kliktar replied. "The 12 battleships we observed may be their entire fleet, or they may have hundreds more hidden throughout human space. Our intelligence services have been monitoring human activity for 50 years, but we never detected any major shipbuilding operations." "That's impossible," the Admiral said. "You can't hide the construction of battleships that large." "Unless," Kliktar suggested, "they were built inside asteroids or on the hidden sides of moons. Human space is full of mining operations that we never investigated closely." Admiral Kixther realized the terrible truth. While the Coalition had been treating humans like junior partners who needed protection, the humans had been secretly building a military force that could probably conquer the entire galaxy if they wanted to. But they had not tried to conquer anyone. Instead, they had used their power to save 50,000 innocent lives. Dr. Gina Song was in her laboratory on Cerberus 9, analyzing the data collected during the battle. Admiral Tae-Young Yoon had asked her to write a report about how the galaxy was likely to react to humanity's revealed strength. "Admiral," Dr. Song said, "I've been monitoring communication traffic throughout Coalition space. The reaction is exactly what we expected: fear, amazement, and desperate attempts to form alliances with us." Admiral Yoon nodded. "And the military response?" "Every major species is reviewing their defense strategies," Dr. Song replied. "Some are trying to figure out how to build weapons like ours. Others are calculating whether they could win a war against us. But most are simply trying to make sure we stay friendly." "Good," the Admiral said. "Fear can lead to respect, and respect can lead to peace." Dr. Song brought up a holographic display showing human space and the surrounding alien territories. "There's something else, Admiral. Our long-range sensors are detecting increased military activity near human colonies. Some species are moving fleets closer to our borders." Admiral Yoon's expression became serious. "Are they preparing to attack us?" "I don't think so," Dr. Song replied. "I think they're trying to position themselves to ask for our protection." The Vector swarm was just one of many pirate groups operating in this part of the galaxy. Now that word is spreading about our capabilities. Every species with a pirate problem is going to want human help. Back on Kepler 7, Captain Dae-ho Kim of the Rising Phoenix was finally getting some rest. His small cargo ship was docked next to the massive Earthbreaker, looking like a tiny insect next to a whale. Lieutenant Boram Lee walked into the ship's common area, where Kim was drinking coffee and reading reports about the battle's aftermath. "Captain," she said, "I've been monitoring Coalition news broadcasts. They're calling us the hidden guardians of the galaxy. Some are saying humans have been secretly protecting trade routes for decades." Kim smiled. "They're not wrong. How many times have we accidentally been in the right place when pirates attacked merchant ships?" "Dozens of times," Lee replied. "But the aliens always thought we were just lucky." Chief Engineer Hyunwoo Park joined them, carrying a data pad with maintenance reports. "Captain, I've been thinking about what happens next. The galaxy knows about our battleships now, but they don't know about the rest of it." "What do you mean?" Lee asked. Park sat down and activated his data pad. A star map appeared, showing human space and the surrounding sectors. The 12 battleships they saw represent about 5% of our actual military strength. Earth has over 200 battleships hidden throughout the galaxy, plus thousands of smaller warships disguised as cargo haulers like us. Lee's eyes widened. 200 battleships? Where are they all hidden? Asteroid bases, hidden moons, artificial space stations that look like debris fields, Park explained. For 50 years, we've been building the most powerful fleet in galactic history. But we've also been using it quietly, stopping pirates and protecting trade routes without anyone realizing it. Kim nodded. The question is, how long can we keep the rest of our capabilities secret? Their question was answered a few hours later when President Rio made a public announcement that was broadcast throughout Coalition space. He appeared on every major news network, sitting behind his desk in Neo Sol with the flag of Earth visible behind him. Citizens of the galaxy, President Ryu began, recent events have revealed that humanity possesses advanced military capabilities. I want to address the concerns and questions that many of you have about our intentions. He paused, looking directly into the camera. For 50 years, humans have been members of the Galactic Coalition. During that time, we have worked hard to earn our place among the stars. But we have also prepared ourselves to defend not only our own people, but all innocent life in the galaxy. The president stood up and walked over to a window that showed the lights of the city below. The battleships you witnessed saving the celestial harmony are just the beginning. Earth possesses defensive capabilities that we hope will never be fully needed. But they exist to ensure that no species, no matter how small or seemingly primitive, will ever be left defenseless against those who would harm them.